Hi there and welcome to my channel. I'm Jeanette with Vivo Vintage Designs. If you're new to my channel, welcome. On this channel we learn alcohol ink and watercolor together. So if you ever have any questions, leave it in the comments. I will always get back to you, and check out the description box and the comment section for links to the products used. All right, now let's get started. Hello friends, in today's video I am going to create a very intuitive painting, and it was inspired by a painting that I did previously in one of my sketchbook idea videos. So let's go for it. I have this is, what is it, Fluid, oops, upside down. Fluid 100 watercolor paper. This is 100% cotton. It gets perfect for what I plan to do today. Okay, I'll also be using my Kuretake paints. I have my Artex acrylic markers, and I also have some chrome markers in gold. So I'm not sure how I'm going to go about this. I have a picture in my mind, so let's get started. So I think this area here, you can see I just penciled in some lines here, and yeah, I'm just going to go for it. So I'm using a large brush to start with, and I think I'm going to start with some cobalt violet to fill in this area here. And I may actually mix that with something a little bit darker. I want it to be a little bit darker than that. So I'm going to use this palette, and I'm using mixing the colors that were already in there. And I may mix a little indigo in there just to deepen it a little bit. Okay, so let's go back to this now. I think I like this color better. So there's only one thing that I am sure about, is that I want to add circles. And that's the only thing that I'm sure about so far. So we'll see how this goes. And sometimes all you need is no more than that to create something really pretty. So now I'm going to start mixing a little bit of the indigo in there. Yeah, indigo, that's what it is. I'm going to start mixing that in there just to change the color up a little bit. I think I should have used a different brush. I just thought this one would be fine because it's a large area. It's okay, I can fine tune it later on. I don't need my edges to be perfect because, again, I'm going to be using a lot of dots and circles, so not much of this will be noticeable, that my edges aren't perfect or anything like that. Now let's do this side here. So I'm using a block, and I'm glad because this is really wet, so I need the paper to not buckle too much. I mean, it's doing it anyway, but it's not too bad. If I were just working on a loose sheet of paper, it would have been much worse. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave that alone to dry. All right, we'll be back when this is dry. Okay, it's not completely dry, but I got an idea while I was drying it. So I'm going to take this smaller brush, and I'm going to go into the white, and I don't know how this is gonna work, so we'll see. I'm just going to start adding in circles while the paint is still wet, and I want them all to touch, and I want them to be loose. So I'm going to hold the brush from the top, and I'm going to let the paint do its thing. There are some areas that are pretty dry in comparison to others because I did start using my blow dryer, and then I got the idea, so that's okay. If worst comes to worst, I can spritz it with some water and keep going. And I love what this is doing, how it's spreading like that. And that's when my brush is too wet, but I like it. Okay, this area here is kind of dry, so I am going to spray a little bit of water on there. And oh, that's pretty. Oh, I wish I had thought to do that all over. Or even some salt would have been nice. That would have given a really nice effect. See, you think of all these things afterwards. Okay, I think I'm going to leave that alone because I really like the way the water looks splattered up there. And I'm going to move on to this area down here. And I'm going to start doing the same thing. But I'm not going to fill the entire space. I like the way this looks. Oh, I really, really like this a lot. Now we're going to wait for this to dry completely. And I think I just may spray a little bit more up here and over here. Okay, let's leave that alone. Let's let it dry. And then we're going to come back and add some more. All right, so this is dry now. I've switched to a different brush because I didn't like using the one that I had. So now I'm going to fill in these two spaces with indigo. Maybe I'll even mix a little black in there so that it's really, really dark, because that's what I want. So lately I've been doing a lot of this type of painting, and it is so freeing to just paint whatever you think. It's so relaxing, and I've had a very stressful month for many reasons. And not having to think, just being able to sit down and paint is, I think, some of the best therapy out there. At least for me it is. And I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. When you get caught up in your paintings, you are so lost in thought and in the process that you're not thinking about very much else, and it helps clear your mind. And sometimes it makes me see things a little bit more clearly when I'm finished painting, because it just soothes my mind. It really does. Okay, that's nice and dark. I like that. Let's move on to this side. Okay, now that that's down, I'm going to wait for it to dry, and I'm not going to touch it anymore because I like all those weird shapes. And actually, what I think I'll do is, as it starts to dry, I may add a spray of water because I really like, or even some salt. Let's do that. Let's get some salt. This side is drying a little bit, so I'm going to give it a little spritz of water. Okay, and I just have some salt here, so I'm going to put a little bit in my hand. And I'm not going to put too much. I'm just going to put a little bit here and there because I like the texture underneath that it'll give me. As the paint dries, the salt will absorb the pigment, and it leaves these really interesting and pretty marks on the paper that I think will look really nice with this painting. Now when you do this, I suggest you let it dry naturally. Don't try and use a blow dryer because it will not work as well. Okay, let's leave this alone. We'll let it dry. We'll come back and see what happens, and then we'll move on. Okay, we're back. This actually took forever to dry, but now that it is dry, I'm going to use a card and scrape that salt off before I start painting on it. I had a lot of paint on there, so that's why it took so long to dry. But I'll show you the effect as soon as I'm done scraping the salt off. So here's the effect. I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but it really gives you this pretty effect. And if you have less paint on there, I think it would have shown up more, but well, what are you going to do? Okay, so now I'm going to take my acrylic paint marker and I'm going to start adding some circles along these lines. You can use Posca pens for this. You can use gouache. This is just easier using this pen. So use whatever you have. You don't have to go out and buy new supplies. To follow my tutorials, I usually try to give you options. So I'm going to fill this all the way around and then we'll come back. Okay, I did end up switching to a Posca pen because I found that on this really dark color, it was more opaque. Okay, I could not find a Posca pen with a smaller nib, but I do have a gel pen. So let's see if this will show up well. Oh, it does. Well, this worked out well. Okay, let's go back to gold now. So I'm going to continue filling this in with these dots and some lines, and we'll come back in just a little bit. So I decided to change it up a bit because I don't want it to just be all dots. So for this layer, I'm adding lines, and I think that's a nice little change. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change it up as I go along, and I think that makes it a little bit more interesting. So you can see I'm adding larger dots, smaller dots, dashes, lines, whatever comes to mind. Like I always say, when the pen hits the paper. But so far I'm really liking the way this is looking, and I have ideas for this area here. I don't know how it's going to look. I'm undecided, but I do have ideas. So let's see how it goes. I think that alternating what I put around these circles makes it more interesting. I like the way it looks. All right, back to gold. I think we need some gold lines. I'm going to use a small nib for that. And I find that turning my paper, once the circles get larger, helps me to keep the lines going in the right direction. You know, I didn't put my phone on airplane mode, and I keep getting phone calls and text messages nonstop. So you're going to hear my phone going off. I am on the board for the complex in which I live, and there's a lot going on right now. So I keep getting phone calls that I have to answer and text messages. And I really wanted to do this video, so I'm going to apologize for my cell phone going off and all the noise that it's making. All right, so I'm going to go around and add these little lines, and then we'll come back again. Okay, since I'm getting close to the edges now, I'm thinking of doing a thick gold band to fill in some of that area, just to break it up a little bit. And because I'm tired of doing circles, that's the truth. Circles and dots. So I'll still have some area to fill in around there, but in the meantime, this will take up a nice amount of space. All right, I really like the way that looks, and I'm actually considering maybe I should make it a little bit thicker. And then I'll do something else in that area. But I can use this to fill in the rest of these areas here. I've always liked gold and purple together. So I can make this one a little bit thicker. And then I only have a small area to fill in there. Oh, I really like that a lot. And that's really the only area that I need to fill in. So back to dots I go. Dots and dashes and lines. But we're almost finished with this section. Okay, so those sections are finished. So what I was thinking of doing in this section is maybe some wavy lines. I don't know. I'm going to start by adding a gold line around here, and another one on this side. And I think I only want to add gold lines on the purple. So I'm going to alternate with these lines. I'm using the smaller nib and the broader nib, and I'm going to kind of make them different distances apart. And I don't think I'm going to do too much in this area, much more than what I'm already doing. There's a part of me that wants to add more. I just don't know. Maybe in the center. In this area here. maybe continue with these thin lines. Something like that. I think that's enough. Then of course I want to fill in these parts here where it meets, because that only seems right. Can't wait to see what it looks like once I remove the tape. So here I have to assume, I don't know, I'm gonna just to have a little consistency, I'm going to maybe paint this area here, just so I have a solid line on this side as well. Is it finished? I don't know. Do I need more dots? Maybe like in here, and then that'll be the end of the dots. I think they should get a little bit bigger in here. I like that. Okay, I'm happy with that. And I think then that will be the end. And let's do the same on this side, and then we will be finished. We'll remove the tape. And call it a day. There's a part of me that feels like these circles need to be outlined, but I'm going to leave it alone. Sometimes I have a tendency, a lot of times, I have a tendency to go overboard. So I'm just going to leave this alone and call it finished, because I think it's turned out pretty so far. Adding more may be too much. So of course this is always the fun part, removing the tape. I can't tell you how much I needed this painting today. I have been so stressed out for so many reasons, and doing paintings like this where you just go with the flow is really therapeutic. I absolutely love this. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I just realized that I forgot I need to add white here. Why didn't you tell me? Right? And then I need a couple of gold dots with the small pen. Okay, it's officially finished. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you give this type of painting a try. It really is relaxing and soothing. You get so caught up in what you're doing that you stop thinking about what's stressing you out. All right, everyone. Again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.